All right, welcome to another high-powered episode of the High Voltage Live Show. I'm your host, Willie Snyder, coming to you live from the Mile High City, Denver, Colorado. Joined by my awesome co-host with the King James Star Cup over there in Hook 'em Horns, Longhorns country, over there in Big Sky Country, Texas, giving a Hook 'em Horns from the Mile High City. And we already have Mr. E. David Englehart in the house. What is good, my brother?
Good evening, Mr. Englehart.
The death match champion. Everyone was smitten.
In case any of y'all are wondering, you can go over to YouTube. Bill has a new song on there. It's actually pretty good. I heard it today.
Oh, you did?
Link. Yeah, I heard it.
Nice.
Matter of fact,
Yeah.
let me look here. I want to see if I can find the link to that, post it up for everybody.
Oh, nice. Yeah, it was pretty funny because I was just kind of strumming on the old acoustic, and I decided I wanted to make a song. And the whole reason I haven't really produced it before is I kind of felt like somebody's just gonna steal it, and so it was pretty cool. Really awesome to be just strumming my guitar in my living room. What I do is I call it music time for the dogs, and so the dogs, they don't get to go on a ride with my wife, and so then they don't get to go on the ride, but they get music time while she's gone, because she won't let me play the guitar. I can't just sit out there in the living room and just jam guitar. But oh, nice, got it up there. Oh, link up in the house.
Is a song The American Way?
Yeah.
Okay, I just
Yeah.
want to make
Nice.
sure that was the name of it.
Yeah, it is. Pretty cool. Thanks for representing, bro. And like I say, I have the High Voltage Live intro on there in full, the whole entire intro. So I produced that too. And don't forget to smash that like and subscribe to the channel. We're pushing 500 still, so we're getting up there. And once you start getting those more subs up in there, then we'll start getting there. I think we're at like 480 or something, 470 something.
I don't know what we're at. I hadn't even looked. I don't even keep up with it, honestly.
Yeah, like a lot of the guys, like a lot of the different channels are like, oh man, we're this far away from whatever number, and like I don't think really matters too much, but oh dude, that's a really good question. David Englehart's asking about Senior. Yeah, and he's just still ornery as ever from what it sounds like to me.
Well, he's doing good. We're gonna go in and have a nuclear test done for his heart, see if there's any dead spots or whatever they check. We're still going to do that, but as far as his head and everything, I mean, hell, I took him to eat tonight, went and had some Asian food, had some rolls and some egg drop soup, and some spring rolls and dumplings, and he walked the car, walked in, walked out. He's back there in his room, sitting in his chair, getting ready to watch Trump's big announcement tonight. So,
Oh wow.
he's
And you guys having floods down there?
not where we are. That's more down in the hill country that they're having that, and they also had some tornadoes and stuff down by San Antonio. So that's
Okay.
roughly about 5 hours from us. The hill country is probably about 3.5, 4. So
Okay.
now we like right now, we got a good rain yesterday, and we just got through eating. We heard the winds coming in, and now it's pouring outside. I'm looking right out the window, and it's funny because I kept hearing something. Well, it's the rain hitting, and looks like we're getting a pretty good rain. So,
Okay.
which I'll be honest, I mean, we're mid-July and we're supposed to get 3-4 days of rain, and it's hot down here in 100 degrees. So you couldn't ask for a better time to rain for us. So
That is not green screen lightning behind him. That is actual lighting coming through the window. Yeah. So pretty awesome. What did you think of the meme this week? Did you like it?
oh yeah. I was trying to remember what it was. Yeah, it was a good one. Yeah.
Nice.
I had to think about, well, since we're at it, let's go ahead and play it.
All right. So for all you people who don't know, in the headlines, there was a couple that climbed a antenna at an Empire State Building
Yeah.
and dropped a flag about world peace or something in there. And so ever since then, it's just been blown out of proportion, and everyone's been using all these different messages. And one of the funny ones is guys say that switches behind doors is a violation because it's not readily accessible and all this stuff. And it's just really funny, and that's kind of why we do the myth of the week, because it's just so funny some of the stuff you hear. And like one of the things this week, it was funny because I've been doing a lot of work at a lot of these different schools, and it's so funny. Like David Englehart's like, yeah, right. Like, how's the inspector gonna bust you on that one? Be like, oh, the switch was fine before they put the door of the other swing. They put the wrong swing in. But yeah, so like I say, we've been doing work at a lot of these schools, and I've been seeing a lot of these. So I decided to cover it this week. I know I talked to you about it, and you kind of liked it. And let's see, what do we have here?
All right, let's roll it.
The week.
Not coming up too high, but Mike, here's your myth of the week.
All right.
It's time for Myth of the Week.
What I should do is I should set it up as like a phone call, and you're like, okay, we got a caller calling in now, and then we answer, and it's Mike asking for myth of the week. But that'd be funny. Oh, nice. I like that illustration. But yeah, so this was kind of interesting. I've been seeing a lot of these cord and plug connected, battery backed emergency lights in a lot of the schools that we've been doing a lot of work in. And I think almost every single one had these. And so initially when I first saw it, I'd say probably going back a lot of years. I'd have to say probably maybe 15 years or so. And when I saw it, I was like, that's a code violation. That's been grandfathered in. There's no way that that's that's able to happen. And David is correct. No violation. And there are stipulations to David that we kind of came up with. I'm sure King James will get into them. One of them is the cord length. But when you look at it, it's just basically true or false. Cord connected battery, backed emergency luminaires are not permitted under the 2026 NEC. Years and years ago, I thought that was true. I was like, oh yeah, you can't do that. It has to be permanently connected or whatever. But then as I started kind of going through this podcast, that's kind of why I do it. I started realizing that, you know what, this is okay, and it's kind of weird because anytime I do the myth, I really want to say thanks to all the people who participated in the Myth of the Week segment and electrical code discussion for awesome electricians. It was really awesome to get all the participation, but you always have these couple knuckleheads that come in there and start, oh, this group sucks, and every post you put sucks, and all this, and it's just like, okay, whatever. And they'll always say like they'll use the wrong your. They'll be like Y-O-U-R, like you're an idiot, it's like not even the right grammar. It's like, okay, so that's always kind of fun for posting this out there. But as always, King James is probably going to go a lot more in depth on this. I just kind of wanted to bring it to the table that I've seen this a lot, and I was one of the people that thought this was a code violation.
Well, as he always states, always got something to say. So I looked at this, and the answer is yes. Okay. Cord connected battery backed up luminaires, yes, they are permitted, but there are certain conditions that need to be followed. And if you look at 700.12 GT or G2, basically what it gets into there is it just basically says this. Battery equipped luminaires must generally be permanently fixed in place or wired using Chapter 3 wiring methods. However, the code specifically permits certain cord connected installations. Basically, that's what you get into. And as you were talking about, that the cord and plug connection can exceed 3 foot in length.
Sure.
Okay. And that was one of the things that I wasn't even sure if you had mentioned or not, but I was like, well, we need to make absolutely sure that you know what the limitations are. They're sort of like that one we did last time, and I was talking about the clearance in front of it, the switch. So you have to look at those. And then another section that you need to look at is you need to look at 410.62C1.
And that's a Luminaires, correct?
That's right. And that also ties into this, because if you go back and look at this, say I have the luminaires up top here, on top of it, I made sure, actually AI generated that, but
No, that's too. I thought you just drew that.
oh,
No, I'm just
I'm
kidding.
not that good.
I know.
I do some cool stuff, but that was pretty cool
Yeah.
the way it did. And I told it what I exactly wanted and all that, and it took care of it for me.
Nice.
Now, that takes care of the myth that emergency luminaires must always be hardwired. That's not true. Okay. And the reality is, when you look at this, and I sort of thought about how I wanted to do this, I'm sort of trying to do things a little bit different than the way I used to do it.
Okay.
So, I try to put some extra information here. So when you look
There
at,
was actually a few people in the comments that said they absolutely do have to be hardwired. And I thought, and I thought that was funny, because we get a lot of these dinosaurs in there, and that's what Mike Holt calls them, dinosaurs. But these guys have been doing it for 30 years, and they might have been doing it wrong for 30 years. There's no reason you need to hardwire every single one.
sure. But when I looked at this, I thought there's a couple extra little things you need to think about here. Now, this is, of course, y'all have heard me talk about listing labeled equipment all the time. This is listed under UL 924, which is for your battery backed emergency luminaires. And that is permanently mounted and connected with a cord and plug assembly up to 3 foot long. And that is permitted, of course, per the National Electrical Code, but it's installed as what? A piece of unit equipment.
True.
And then, as David's asking right here, as he can see, I put in the reality, the receptacle supplying it must be part of the required, now listen to me, required emergency lighting arrangement and connected as required by Article 700. And I can't answer that completely, because it depends on what type of system they're using. But when you think of it this way, and this is the way I would look at this. If I go in and I look at Article 700, what does Article 700 deal with? It deals with your emergency systems.
True.
Okay. And when you look at that and you get into the scope of that, it'll talk about the article basically applies to electrical safety. And this deals with the installation, operation, and servicing of emergency systems that consist of what? Your circuits and equipment. Okay. And that's for anything that is for supply, distribution, or the control of electricity. In this case, for what? Illumination.
True. And it's to illuminate the path of egress. A lot of people were kind of saying, oh yeah, it's to get exit, and it's like, no, it's to get you a safe path to exit, a safely lit path. And yeah, there's nothing wrong with it. Like, that's like one of the things that Tommy D was talking about. It's like, shall be permitted. Why do they need to put shall be permitted to be hardwired? Well, what we're asking is if it's allowed to be cord and plug connected. Like, yeah, of course you could hardwire anything, but yeah, that's a good point there, David. Shall be permitted is in there.
let me explain a little something else that you get into also is you also have to look at this by what type of occupancy it is too.
Sure.
Okay. Because you could have hotels, it could be a theater, it could be healthcare facilities, sport arenas, something like that. And when you get into that, what are you exactly putting this in for? Well, this is in place because whatever the required facility is you're installing it for, this is put in place, the emergency system, in order for when your normal power supply has been interrupted.
Sure.
Okay. So then you've got to look at some other things because it's one thing I'm looking at Article 700 and I'm going through this, but if I get in and I'm starting to look at healthcare facilities, you need to look at Article 517. Okay. And then while you're also doing that, you need to take into consideration because when you get into the information as far as it's concerning performance and servicing of the emergency systems, you need to look at NFPA 99, which is your health care facilities code.
Yeah, and that's a good point too, David. They do require 1 foot candle, per 1 foot candle. Like, I don't know how they judge that. I remember we did an inspection on that before. I actually had to get a lumens meter, and we actually had to walk around and make sure. And I can't remember, there was a certain thing that it had to be above a certain thing like that to qualify as that 1 foot candle per unit or whatever it was. I can't remember. Like, at the darkest spot has to still be 1 foot candle if I remember correctly. But we ran into this before. I probably told you this story before, James, but we were doing this job and all the trades were always like, "Hey Sparky, you need light. Hey Sparky, I need light in this room. Hey Sparky, you need light in this room." I'm like, dude, it's not my job to get you guys light. Like, it's in your contract to provide yourself your own illumination, And
Yeah.
that's in part of the contract for temp power, temp lighting, everything. And it was funny because they kept asking me. I was busy. I can't remember what I was doing, but I was really super busy. I just reached over and grabbed one of those wall packs off the wall and turned on, and I handed it to him. I was like, "You got 90 minutes." I just went out doing what I was doing.
And it's interesting you brought that up because I was just about to go into that part. Because when you're looking at emergency lighting that is considered essential to life safety, for instance, we need to look at NFPA 101, which is your life safety code.
Yeah, and that's
Okay.
really kind of tricky. So like if you're in a hospital, they adopt 101. There's a lot, like I would almost say that there's not very many jurisdictions out here in Colorado that adopt NFPA 101. So there's certain things that we ran into in NFPA 101 where it says like an exit sign can't be a certain height.
Mhm.
Well, then that fire department's like, well, we don't adopt 101, because they're like, obviously you can't do that. So if there's certain really major conflicts, then that jurisdiction just doesn't adopt that standard. Now, in the hospital, they have to, I believe 101 is critical to like hospital and all that. And I think the hospital has to adopt NFPA 101.
Mhm.
So,
Well, and then what'll happen is when you look at there's two sections to look at in Article 700. You've got 700.16 that deals with emergency illumination, just basically you're going to provide it and all that crap. But where you really want to look at is the branch circuit for the emergency lighting, and that'll be the next section, 700.17. And when you get in there, all it's really telling you is that the branch circuits that are going to be supplying the emergency lighting, they're required to be installed to provide service from a source that complies with 700.12, basically depending on which type you're using, but that's your emergency system. And then when you look at that, you have an emergency lighting supply. Basically, what does it have to do? It has to be independent of what? The normal lighting supply conductors. That's it.
right.
All right. And then you have provisions that are put in place to automatically transfer the emergency lights in case there's a failure of the normal lighting supply. That's
Right.
basically what you're looking at here. Okay.
Yeah, and
Right.
I mean, a lot of people, they don't realize how nice this is to have like some of these codes in place. I remember one time I was at a Target and I was sitting there shopping like in the middle of the Target. I mean, it went black. And I mean, it was mass pandemonium. It was mass chaos. Same kind of thing happened at DIA one day. I wasn't there. I had to go attend a CPR class, but it was pretty funny. Everyone was joking. They're like, "Oh, the one day you're not at DIA, the electricity goes to hell," But it was pretty like people were stuck on the trains. People were stuck, all over the place. And the whole thing is, it's like the least you can do is have that safe path of egress. So and some of it is kind of ridiculous. I've talked with like architects about it where they're like, oh well, you have to have it this lit path here because if there's a fire here, people are gonna would take this path instead of this path. Like, no, people are gonna go right across the grass. You know what I mean? So that's basically what we're trying to do is just get a safely lit path where you can get across the grass. Like, we don't care if you take the path to the right or the path to the left, And it was really funny when that architect was kind of explaining that because I was like, yeah, that's ridiculous. Like, the fire marshal's like, no, we need a lit path over here. We need a lit path over here. And I'm like, really? And she's like, yeah, well, if there's a fire over here, then they're going to take this path. If there's a fire over there, they're going to take this path. So you have to have egress on both sides. And it's just stupid because if there's a fire and I'm exiting the building, I'm going across the grass. I'm not following a path, and they had to it was crazy. Like, they had to have like this sprinkler wall and all this stuff. So if there was a fire over there, then the fire wouldn't break past the sprinkler wall. And it was so ridiculous because it's like people are not going to be following a path when there's an emergency and a fire like that. They're going to be following all paths to get away. They're not going to be following a well lit, cobblestone road.
All the lighting's there for is so you can see. That's it.
Yeah.
That's what it really comes down to. And when you sort of wrap it up, basically you're looking at it. The emergency lighting supply has to be what? Independent of the normal lighting supply.
True.
That's it. And it has to automatically operate when there's a failure of the branch circuit that supplies the normal lighting. Basically, that's
True.
what it comes down to. And when I looked at this, I said, what are the important limitations here for cord connected emergency luminaires? It is portable or intended to be moved around. The flexible cord exceeds 3 foot for the unit equipment. It is simply a standard luminaire using screw-in battery backup plant that is not directly wired to the branch circuit, and it is not listed as emergency lighting equipment. That's it. It's a unit.
So the myth is busted. They do not have to be hardwired in all cases. So there was people that said that, and it was just really funny because they're like, nobody's doing that. Nobody's cord and plug connecting it. And it's like all these people chimed in. Chris Pollard was in there. A lot of people were like, "Oh, dude, we have those at our work, and we have those over here, and that's the only way we have to do it." And they were sitting there saying that some of them they can't interrupt the they have to test them, and they can't interrupt like the whole entire lighting circuit, so they have to unplug them to test them.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that I never would have really thought about that angle until they started saying like, yeah, well, they work in a big factory and they can't just kill lighting to test all emergency.
Yeah.
Like, they have to actually unplug each one and test it individually like that. And if one doesn't carry for 90 minutes, then they have to replace it. And so
Sure.
I thought that was a really good point of like, if you had those all hardwired, the only way to test them would be kill the regular lighting. And if you're like in a major plant of some sort, or like a freight facility or something, you can't kill the lighting. Like, we were in there, we've done it before, and I've had to do a whole entire building. I had to do basically energize, but basically what I do is I'd go to a row and I'd disconnect that row of lighting, then I'd replace them all, and then I'd tie it back in. And so I was doing them. Sometimes I'd only do half a row. Like sometimes I just kill half. If I could, if there was a junction box in between, I'd kill the row going that way. We'd change it out. Then I'd turn it back on. Then, I'd kill a different part or whatever, tie it into a different circuit or whatever, and then do that other half of a row. Like whatever we could do to like minimize the impact. Like we're always thinking about that in those facilities and stuff. So especially like DIA. I mean, it's crazy. Like you cannot impact anything, and like it's crazy because we have to like submit like all the branch circuits when we're doing like our shutdown requests, and we have to investigate where everything goes. Dude, some of those panel schedules are from 1995 when it opened.
Yeah.
And they're like, and it was funny because I was learning about a lot of different technologies I never would have thought about, but they were like, there was like camera. And I'm like, well, I'm pretty sure there's not a 120 volt camera, but then some people were talking about they actually have heaters for these cameras where it's a 120 volt heater and it keeps the lens from freezing and stuff like that. So, pretty awesome, but just want to give a big shout out to all people. We got some people over on Rumble, so I just got the notification. There's people over there popping in on Rumble.
Yep.
So if you guys don't check us out on YouTube, go check us out over there on Rumble. And appreciate you putting through that Rumble feed. It's pretty awesome. I'm sure we're probably competing with some Trump footage tonight, but
I don't know what he was thinking. He knew we had our podcast night.
Dude.
He's probably losing hundreds and probably millions of people watching tonight because of us.
Yeah, they just want to see if you could cord and plug connect that Luminaire or not, So really awesome. Thanks so much, everyone, for joining us for the Myth of the Week. I appreciate it. And we'll move on to King James's topic of the week.
Here we go.
Yeah, so David makes a good comment on this about the 3 or more lighting circuits. That to me is really interesting because that's the one that I used to say I could use a multi-wire branch circuit for all my emergency, and as long as they were all for lighting. So I didn't have like power loads. It was just all 100% lighting loads. And the inspector liked it. He was like, man, he goes, that's actually a good idea because if circuit 4 trips, then the EMs come on. If circuit 6 trips, then EMs come on. If circuit 2 trips, EMs come on. So he kind of liked it, and so he allowed me to use a multi-wire branch circuit. Even though I can't remember, I think it's like 712 possibly, where it says, was it 712? I can't remember, but it says you can't use a multi-wire branch circuit. But I think it kind of says in there you can't use a multi-wire branch circuit for power and lighting or something, but possibly I could see that being left up to interpretation.
Well, that's where you get into your 700.12. That's going to be where you start dealing with your sources of power. And
Okay.
when you get into that, because I think it's you get into equipment design and location. And then after that, I had to think about this, and because I know exactly what you're talking about, but what I'm thinking, I was trying to remember exactly where that was in 700.12. I think
I thought it was just a.
G. I think it's 700.G.
You could be correct.
Yeah, because
It just says basically, I thought it just said no multi-wire branch circuit. And I think I asked Tommy D about it. And he goes, yeah, Willie, you can't use a multi-wire branch circuit. It's like, Well, I think as long as you have, like David was saying, that 3 or more lighting circuits that feed a area, common area, then I think you can do it. I mean, I did it, and the inspector passed it, and
I think
he
that
actually
is,
said it was good.
I think that is in G2, 700 point G2. Let me go over there because I think that's correct. Give me a second. Let me
Go hit
go
link
find
real
this.
quick.
Yeah, give me a minute.
Well, you gotta have link loaded up anyway for your code question anyway. So
Yeah.
for the code question of the week. So
Oh, I don't know why I always forget to link that. And okay, here we go. All right, I'm gonna go 700.12. Okay, there's G. Here we go. Let's see. G2 installation. Yeah, okay, I was right. Okay, let's see. It gets in the 3 foot there. Equipped as there's a distribution.
yeah, I thought there was a. Yeah, I thought they had something about that. It was NF until they changed it in 23 or 26. So thanks for that comment, David. Yeah, I think you're right.
So-
I think I remember it's from.
So they got here the branch circuit feeding the battery equipped emergency luminaire shall be one of the following. It's not the first one, but it says the same or a different branch circuit as that serving the normal lighting area. If that circuit is equipped with means to monitor the status of the area's normal lighting branch circuit ahead of any local switches.
Gotcha. Yeah, I thought there was just a point blank. It could have just been like in the parent text of like one of the things, but I thought it just said blatantly in 700 somewhere, no multi-wire branch circuits. It might have been like 700 19 or something like that.
Let me look
I
over
can't.
here.
I can't remember.
Yeah, multi-wire branch circuits. The branch circuit serving emergency lighting and power circuits shall not be part of a multi-wire branch circuit.
Yeah, but like I say, if you use that, 3 or more, then I think you're fine. Because that's the 3 or more, and it's part of a single circuit that's serving lighting. So, look who's coming for the quiz tonight. Like we got the Sharky.
Give him his Jaws thing here real quick. I was sitting there trying what it was talking about here.
I don't think it absolutely forbids a multi-wire branch circuit for lighting, because it seemed like me and the inspector, we went through it pretty thoroughly, and he seemed to think it was fine as long as those circuits were serving 3 or more. And
let's see if
I
there's
think that's what he used, was that 3 or more circuits, lighting circuits in an unbroken common area. And it could have been on their own locked on circuit too. Like I could have locked that thing on. I wouldn't have changed anything. A lot of times what they're worried about is that load on the grounded conductor, and as long as you simultaneously de-energize them, I don't really see what the issue is, but you might have to do that on Dipper Myth. I don't want to cut into your topic.
So if you look at 717.2, 2 or more branch circuits supplied from separate and complete systems with independent power sources. One of the 2 power source systems shall be part of the emergency system. The other part, that goes without saying. For emergency, unless both. Okay, here's the second paragraph. Unless both systems are used for regular lighting purposes and both are kept lighted, means shall be provided for automatically energizing either system upon failure of the other. either system or both systems shall be permitted to be part of the general lighting of the protected occupancy of circuits supplying lighting for emergency illumination or stored in accordance with other sections of this article. That's about the closest I can find.
Yeah. I don't think it just absolutely forbids the use of a multi-wire branch circuit, but I don't know.
Okay. Well, let's
I'd
go
say it's up to the
for the week.
ASJ.
I'm just going by what I see.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, let's get into doing. I think I can't remember where I stopped this in this week, but this is going to be 406.9B, and what we're going to get into here is we're going to be looking at the switches. Basically, Article 406, that's going to be your wiring devices now article. And when you go in and you look at B here, one of the things I would point out as I was looking at this is when you look over B3, 1, and 2, and you come down, pick this up, this is going to deal with your switches and wet locations. And basically, all it's going to tell you is that if you're in a wet location where your switch, you're required to comply with certain requirements. Now, if it's a flush mounted switch, it has to be equipped with a weatherproof cover. And if it's surface mounted switches, they're required to be enclosed in a weatherproof enclosure, but it's also going to tell you you need to look at 312.4. And that's where you're going to go over and pick up your enclosures in damp or wet locations.
Right.
And basically you're going to be looking at your weatherproof enclosure. Now, this is interesting because this is something that I've brought up before. And
and that's an interesting thing because this is like wiring devices in a 406, correct?
Yeah, 406.
And so I don't know, like, wouldn't that be under 314? I could see it.
No, 312.
I could see it being under 312. It was like a knife blade disconnect.
Yeah, well,
that would be a cabinet, right?
Yeah, what you're looking at is enclosures that are installed in damp or wet locations. Now, I want to bring this up because this is a good example of something I've brought up earlier. We've had the argument that, and I've argued this with like Jeremy and all them guys over at ECD, and I would ask them this question. Now, we've heard them tell us that and I hate to bring this up again, but if I have an outlet and they say that I go out to the AC unit and that's an outlet out there, okay, where the connections are made. Now,
it's somewhere out there.
Mm-hmm.
Could be floating, could be at the load side terminal of the disconnect, could be at the line side of terminals of the unit, could be just inside the wiring method hovering, could be the connector where it enters the unit.
Yeah, but I've brought this up so many times, and this is a good example because you can go in and you can look all this up in 312.4. Now, if I take and I have a receptacle out there, or they call it a receptacle outlet, whatever they want to call it, it's an outlet. The enclosure has to be weatherproof. Am I correct?
Yes.
If I put a switch outside and it's in a wet location, does the enclosure have to be weatherproof?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, if I go out to an AC unit and that's an outlet out there also, shouldn't that be in a weatherproof enclosure?
You would think, but I can guarantee you 100% that interior of that equipment is governed by UL, and that is considered a dry location.
Exactly. But we have been told and reassured, and everybody remember this, we had like Jeremy on here and a bunch on come on, and they told us that the NEC overrides the listing and labeling. Isn't that correct?
Yeah. And so I think it's interesting because I think you could kind of peel that open like an onion, kind of, because it says that the manufacturer's instructions must be free from hazard or must not create a code violation. And so it's kind of interesting because like if you really go into it and you look at the way the Standards Council ruled on removing 62554B, that tells me that you go off those manufacturer instructions, and if you hardwire it, there's no outlet there. And that's exactly what the manufacturer is having you install that equipment, and it is free from having a code violation. So they didn't tell you anything about location or where you're installing. It doesn't say, oh, unless it applies to dwelling units on this one. It doesn't even say that. And they never forced the manufacturers to change their wording as no GFCI protection required when hardwired. It doesn't say when hardwired in the garage or when oh, well, it's absent of the language. It's like you can't just pick and choose and say, well, it applies over here, but it doesn't apply over there.
My whole argument the whole time.
Yeah.
And you know what's funny is because when I asked them that, I said, is that a weatherproof enclosure? Bill, remember this? They go, what the hell does that matter?
Dude,
said,
there's actually been inspectors that have like sent me messages and pictures, and like I'm always talking to a bunch of different inspectors. Like I give them my personal number. I'm like, text me, call me anytime if you have any questions. And it was crazy. This inspector sent me a picture. It was like a Mitsubishi, one of these split system units.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the weirdest thing. Like I've seen them all the time. I mean, I'm no stranger to it. But at the time, he was like, yeah, he goes, they didn't put, they're missing like the cover or something. You know, and all it is, it's so weird. It's this plate that's just hovering in the middle of nowhere, and your seal tie like comes into this plate, and then your wiring just goes into the unit.
Mm-hmm.
And there's like this gap of like probably like 4 inches of just air, and it looks like the weirdest thing. Like it looks like something's missing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how they designed it. That's their design because it's a dry location. And they say, you know, it's not going to get wet in there. They say it's not going to accumulate moisture. Well, the NEC would disagree with you. And that was the whole thing. And I told this inspector, I said, you know, I got to do some research on this. I don't know that that's missing a cover. And then I went and I did research and pulled it up. And yeah, that's the factory design. That's the way it looks. And, you know, they didn't leave any cover off or anything. He goes, you know, that just looks so weird. It's just expose the elements and everything. I said, well, yeah, but you know, basically our code stops right where that connects to that plate. The minute that our seal tie hits that unit plate, we're done. That's all they inspect to. Once it goes inside the unit, then that's on the manufacturer. If they're getting a whole bunch of snowstorms and they're getting snow in there and it's ruining conductors and it's blowing up boards and it's blowing up all kinds of control power conversion equipment and stuff, then that's on the manufacturer. That's not on the NEC.
Yeah, they added a new section in the 2026 for 40.15 that deals with those split system indoor units and the identification for them and everything.
True.
And matter of fact, we'll be getting to that here in another week or two. And we're actually going to show you what that split face system looks like because a lot of people don't know. So,
yeah, and I think it's if I remember correctly, I think it's called the one machine rule, and so you're actually calling that whole entire system, even though it's two separate utilization equipment, you're calling it a single machine.
Well, we actually show where the unit is mounted outside and everything, and everything goes inside, and then we set up with the disconnecting means there. Then we draw the other unit that sets up high in the room over here and show what it looks like. So y'all get a good look at all that when we do that one.
I think it should be good though, because you have to keep in mind that if you're doing any kind of service on that, you don't want to like kill that main condensing unit and then just have something still energized on a different power source indoors. So that's probably a good one.
All right, now this is 4069C2. This is where you have your wiring devices in the bathtub or shower spaces. And when you go down and pick up C2 there. It'll have switches, and basically it just tells you, which everybody should know this, but switches shall not be installed within the tub or shower space. And the only way it's allowed to be is if it's installed as part of the listed tub or shower assembly. Pretty
Yeah, I
simple.
mean, that's kind of a no-brainer, but we always argue about that with how far away it needs to be and all that. And we've had times where the shower space stops and then there's another space that goes like another 2 feet. They're like, can I put my switch in there? Is that in the shower space, or does it have to be in where the tile is?
Yeah.
You know, so there's a little bit of gray area there that I think needs cleaned up a little bit.
Well, that's why we spend a little bit of time going through drawing all these freaking illustrations so you can
Right.
see exactly what they're wanting you to do. All right,
Copy.
406.10, 1 and 2. This is going to get into your wiring device terminations. And basically, it just tells you they have to comply with certain requirements. There's 3 of them there. And they just tell you wiring devices where they're marked COLAR. Those are permitted to be directly terminated to what? Aluminum, copper, copper-clad aluminum conductors. Okay. And of course, the size of the conductor and AGW size, American wire gauge, that's going to be identified by who? The manufacturer instructions.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then it says,
I almost said NEC. You almost got me.
yeah,
No.
always, hey, it overrides manufacturer's instructions too, you know. That's what they tell us anyway. Now, if you have a device that's not marked COLAR, then at that point, those type of devices, they're not permitted to connect to what? Aluminum conductors. And
Right.
the only way they're going to be permitted is you got to use copper conductor or copper clad conductors.
Right.
Or I'm sorry, copper clad aluminum conductors. Put that in the right thing, and it's same thing on identified by manufacturer's instructions.
Right.
Then the last one they're going to talk about is where you have those type of wiring devices that have screwless terminals. And in other words, it's the push-in type. Okay. Push-in terminals, whatever you want to call them. But if you're going to do those cannot be installed on any type of circuit greater than 15 amperes. And of course, since it's 15 amperes, it has to be connected by number 14 solid copper conductors. Okay.
True.
So those are the 3 rules there. We sort of lay everything out here so you can see exactly what the requirements are.
So so they don't put anything in there for copper clad number 12 or anything, as long as you have those.
Well, the only thing that they have in there is you follow the manufacturer's instructions.
Gotcha. All right.
Okay.
Okay.
Then we're going to look at D3. Now, when you go look at 406.12, these are just general installation requirements. And when you go over there and you look at your receptacle outlets and stuff, you got grounding type, connection to equipment grounding conductors, and you got your methods of connection to equipment grounding conductors. And they're basically just referring you to where 250.118. They also refer you to 251.46. That's where you got isolation and all that. So there's just a bunch of requirements in there. And then you get into D, that's where you're going to get into replacements. Okay.
Right.
And D3 is going to talk about the ground fault circuit interruption at this point. Now,
yeah, I mean, to me, that's kind of interesting. I kind of want to pick your brain about this. I remember when that one first came in, and they're like, oh man, if you do a service call and you change the receptacle, then you got to bring it up to code and put it on AFCI. But wouldn't that be only if you like move it like 6 foot?
well, that particular one there, that will be something that will be probably an ordinance.
Gotcha. Okay.
When you're looking at this, they talk about your GFCI protection for receptacles, and they're just going to tell you that it's required to be provided for any type of replacements that are made for your receptacle outlets. And then they're going to discuss at that point that they're required to be GFCI protected where it is mentioned elsewhere in the code. All right. Now
Gotcha.
there is an exception that's going to be below this, and this is the one we want to look at, because the other one pretty much that was a given, but then they did the exception, and what they're going to tell you here is the receptacle shall be permitted to be replaced with any type of new receptacle here of the existing type. But there's 3 conditions that you're going to look at that would exist. And the first one is it's going to talk about the size of the outlet box. And if the size of the outlet box will not permit the installation of a GFCI receptacle. I think that's
or an
pretty good.
AFCI too,
Or
right?
AFC, yeah. And then the other one says no electrically upstream outlet box also will permit the installation of a GFCI receptacle. So they're taken into consideration. Now, what I would look at here, if you can't do that, then you need to look at a GFCI circuit breaker. But they even mention that in the third one, and they say that if a GFCI breaker cannot provide the required GFCI protection. So
Okay.
you're going to
So
have
you're
to work,
protecting the branch circuit or the outlet still, huh?
yeah, one of the two, which goes to what I was saying. And what gets me is, and I don't know how they get this, because they told us a receptacle and an outlet box were the same thing. That's what a receptacle outlet is. But right here, they specifically say the outlet box.
Yeah.
Oh, well, who has been stating that forever?
Now, wasn't
I mean-
there like a utilization equipment system or an outlet system or
Yeah,
some
well, it's interesting.
utilization equipment system that connects to the outlet box?
Yeah. I mean, the things that they say don't match up with what we read here.
Right.
I mean, that's where I start having problems and arguing with them. All right.
Sure.
So 406, 32 through 34. And when we look at this one, what this is going to get into is 32 is going to deal with your switch enclosures, and then 34 will deal with your time switches, flashers, those type of devices. And then 36 talks about indicating. All right.
Right.
Now, when I look at the switch enclosures, it just basically, and this is just a normal thing, everybody should know this, but switches shall be of what? The externally operable type. And then it's going to tell you it's installed in what type of boxes? Device boxes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Device box, yeah.
there we are again. Or on covers listed for the intended use. So
Sure. I've seen that before.
yeah, but what gets me is when I look at this and I'm looking at the language they're using, they're basically agreeing with what we say.
Hmm?
Then it talks about your time switches, flashers. It says time switches, flashers, and similar devices are required to be enclosed or be the enclosed type, or they're required to be installed in what? Oh, looky there again, device boxes.
Yeah.
Now, my question
And what goes in a device box? A wiring device.
now this is what gets me. And this is my question. I have a receptacle out there. They call that an outlet box. But it's installed. That outlet box is what type of box? A device box.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's interesting. Why didn't they just call this switch here an outlet box? See,
You got me.
can't-
You got me. I was saying it was an outlet box because I thought they were all outlet boxes. I didn't know there was even such a thing as a device box.
Like I was trying to say. But see this language and the way they have it written, and then this goes back to something I've said over and over and over. You have to take the code as what? A
Oh,
whole. And when
yeah,
you start
and
looking at it,
you can't just dwell on one reference and say this is the be all end all. Like Weedman, he has to read all the way to that last sentence. Like it says to go to 240.4b, I believe. And
Oh, that yeah.
and
That's
it says go to 240 or 240.4c, I believe. And it says go to 240.4c to, you know, answer the questions. Like a choose your own adventure. And Weedman's like, no, but it said it can't exceed the. It's like, dude, you didn't even go to 430 yet, or you didn't even go to, you know, 240 yet. You didn't even go over there and look at what it said. You're still reading the sentence before you have to go look over at 240 4C before you get the permission to drop down.
sure.
And I thought it was hilarious when you're like, what do you go up? And he's like, no. Well, you can't go up or you can't go down and up. You know, like, what is it? You go down or you go up. You can't just stay the same, you know?
That's correct. You can't have it both ways.
Yeah, it was. I thought that was hilarious how you're like, what do you go up? And he's like, no.
What the hell do you do then? I mean, make your mind up which way you want to do it.
That was
All right.
hilarious.
And this just ties into your marking here, and it just says that your switches are required to be marked with what? Your current, voltage, and if it's horsepower rated, of course, you have to have the horsepower rating on there for what, and you got to do it. It's based on the maximum rating for which it's designed. Okay.
Right.
And then, of course, the off indication where it's in the off position. Basically, you have to have a switching device with the marked off position, showing that you've completely disconnected all your ungrounded conductors. Basically, that's
So, does that leave you the permission to like write off on a industrial cover with like a Sharpie?
no.
It has to be permanently.
Yeah.
It has to be.
Yeah.
It has to be.
And
more
that's what
permanent.
that's stating right there. And I think that's to keep people from doing it, in my
Right.
opinion. All right. So then you got 408. This one, I don't know why I got this one out of order. Oh, no, it's not. Okay, 408, because I was in 406. I was thinking, am I out of order there?
Yeah,
Okay.
no, that's panel boards, right?
Yeah. Now, what it's going to talk about is your reconditioned equipment. Now, this one is one you need to look at. Okay, because
Yeah,
this one
Willie.
here, you
Yeah,
can
Willie
actually,
Jackerson.
you can actually recondition these. Okay, so when you look at 408.3a, it's going to talk about what is permitted to be reconditioned. You
Right.
can recondition switchboards, switch gears, even sections of the switchboard or switch gear. And they're gonna now there's one thing you have to pay attention to here. Okay. There's going to be a part down there right below it, and it's going to talk about if the equipment has in any way been damaged by fire, any type products of combustion, any type of corrosive influences, water, anything like that. Before it's returned to service, and you recondition it, it has to specifically be evaluated by its manufacturer or a NERDL, National Recognized Testing Laboratory, or the code is going to call it a QTL, which is a qualified testing laboratory.
True.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
so
then-
we run into this, and like I can guarantee the reason why this is in the code is because we run into this out of gas and oil. They give like a certain amount of hours on all their equipment,
Sure.
and they actually have it scheduled for like, so they'll say, all right, let's just say that bucket on the left there, let's just say that's a 2000 amp.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll already have a 2000 amp that's already tested and ready to go, and they'll schedule it for like a 1 a.m. shutdown, and then they'll shut that 2000 amp down. It's a huge process. Like you probably have to start at like 9 p.m. to get it ready to go by 1, you know, because of all the different steps you have to do, like shut this off, shut that off, make sure you know that it's backed up over here, could backfeed, you know, make sure you know this over here, make sure you have to walk the system, like you have to walk the whole area that it covers, make sure there's nothing you miss, like maybe extra generators, extra UPS systems, anything that could backfeed into that. you know, and it's a big process. Like it's crazy. Like you have to start early on one of those. And then what happens is you go through all your procedures, you check it, you have this whole checklist you go through, you check it all off, then you de-energize it, you unrack the breaker. It has like some of them have like total automatic system that does it for you, so you don't even have to be in the building. Like you just de-energize it, and then it has a little crane that comes over and it just hooks onto it and it pulls it out and it lowers it down and everything. And then you go over and you just take take that 2000 amp bucket off and then put the new 2000 amp bucket on there and then hit re-rack, and then you get out of the building. It'll give you time. It'll tell you. It'll have like a countdown to like re-rack, and then it'll re-rack and then re-energize it. And you're just supposed to make sure that you do like a cold start so everything downstream's like de-energized, and then it'll go through and it'll go through a checklist. It'll check for like faults. It has these things called charms, and it'll go check all the charms and make sure all the charms are clear. And then once all the charms are clear, then it'll initiate re-energize. And if anything goes wrong and something blows up, then it automatically takes it back out, sets it on the ground, and says reinstall the old one. Yeah. And then it'll do the same thing again. It'll go through, it'll check the charms again. Like I've never seen one go like where anything blew up, but you have to know what it does. But then you go put it in there and it goes through, it re-racks it goes through, and then it starts a countdown. And then that countdown actually gets sent to like whoever's controlling that plant, and it'll tell you that's the countdown to replace that one. And so then what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to take the 2000 amp they just pulled out, put it on a boat to China, and then they go and diagnose it, check it, make sure it's all good, retest it, everything, and then they have a countdown that's on the screen, and then they're supposed to schedule it to be re-racked by the time that countdown comes back down. So essentially, they're using the same two devices. They're just swapping them back and forth every so often. Like I want to say it's like every 3 years or 2 years or something like that. But it's pretty interesting how they have that set up as a service, and not necessarily are those being reconditioned, but a good example is like I'm doing fire alarm, and we have devices that are 20 years old, and I'm like, well, these work on a modern system, and they're like, yeah, they're just a device. All you have to do is just put a module on there. The problem is they haven't been tested in 20 years, so they're not. Nobody's gonna stand behind them. Yeah. So that's kind of where I kind of want to tie this in, but sorry.
No worries. Oh, never interrupting.
Yeah.
So basically, just to wrap it up.
Yeah.
Switchboard, switchgears, or sections of switchboards and switchgear are permitted to be reconditioned, but panel boards are not. Okay. True. So that's where we are on that recondition. And then we got 408.6. And when I look over at this one, this is going to deal with your short circuit current rating. And basically, they did just sort of what they've done in other parts. So when I look at this, you're sort of tying this in with Article 110. And this is where you get in and, there's more than that, because if you look at 110.16, you're going to see some of the similar wording, and then you're going to look at 110.22 and then also 110.24. There's quite a few different ones that you look at here. And then we also have to go in and we need to look at 230.67 A and B and 230 or is that 240? Maybe 240.87 A and B.
Yeah, because you're talking about recurrent devices or services.
Yeah, well, service and overcurrent. So I think
gotcha.
I think 167, the other one's 87.
Right.
But you'll notice this wording. Now, when you look at the available fault current, of course, that's 110.24, but they all sort of tie in together. And listen to the wording right off the bat. Switchboard, switch gear, and panel boards. That's what you want to get used to hearing. Okay.
Right.
Shall have a short circuit current rating not less than the available fault current.
True.
Okay. And this is other than what? 1 and 2 family dwellings. So
Yeah, and it's pretty basic. Like I've been doing commercial for probably 30 years, and like all you want is you just don't want to have an unintended rapid disassembly in the field, like Tommy D says. So it's an unintended rapid disassembly in the field is what you want to avoid. And that's really all that's about. Like a lot of people are like, I don't understand that. And you could get all scientific and everything, but if you have 10K equipment upstream, and you have a 22K AIC, then you could do some major damage to that equipment because it's not rated for that fault current.
sure. And one of the things that I'll point out in this, you need to pay real close attention to, because I'm going to get into this in just a second, but I want everybody to remember this section. I want you to look at, you'll be looking in NFPA 70E, and you're going to look at 130.5G, because and when you look over at that, you're going to pick up, the heading is going to be incident energy analysis method. And when you get over there, it's gonna say there's certain things you have to take into consideration. Okay. And one of the things it's going to talk about is the characteristics of overcurrent device and its fault clearing time. And also that includes what? Its condition of maintenance. Okay. That to me is one of the most important things you're going to remember about this. And another thing that I'm going to point out here is when you go over and look at 70E, we're going to tell you that the incident energy analysis that you're required to do shall be updated anytime there are any changes that occur in that electrical distribution system that could affect the results of previous analysis. But at the very minimum, it has to be reviewed for all the accuracies that you've done up to that point, but it has to be done at intervals that do not exceed 5 years. Okay.
Gotcha.
Now, to me, that is probably one of the most important things I want you to remember, because when you look at Article 408 and you deal with this, the first thing that it's going to talk about, it's going to say, at 408.61, it's going to say the available fault current at the line terminals. Now listen to this. And the date that the calculation was performed is required to be field marked in a readily accessible location on the enclosure where that point of supply enters. Okay.
Right.
Now, then it tells you that the short circuit current rating of switchboards and panel boards, and this is at, of course, whatever the voltage is based on the overcurrent protection devices that are going to be installed, and they're required to be field marked in a readily accessible location on the enclosure. And then it tells you the marking shall be required by 408.612 and look here, 110.21B. Okay. Now, the reason I want to bring that up, because if you go back and you look at 110.21B, what does it deal with? That's going to be your equipment markings. Okay. And
they can't be handwritten. They have to be legible and permanently labeled.
Sure. And when you go over and look at that, it's going to get in and it's going to talk about field applied hazard markings. And you've heard me say this many times. It says, and I've always said, these are 3 things you look at: caution, warning, or danger hazard markings.
True.
Okay. And I said, if it's a caution, you do it in yellow. If it's a warning, it's in orange. And if it's danger, we do it in red, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So now that we got that sort of laid out for us, I guess you could say. Then you've got all that markings and everything done per 110.21b, and more than likely this is going to be a warning. Then you look at 4 and it says that available fault current calculation is required to be what? Documented and made available to those who are in authority to inspect, install, or maintain the installation. And then it says if you make, and then you go to 5, it says if you make any modifications to that electrical system that can affect that available fault current, then guess what? You have to go in and you have to readjust those field markings. But
Sure.
anywhere you look on this and you look at 48.6, nowhere does it say anything about every 5 years. You've got to go to NFPA 70E to get that information.
Yeah, and that's interesting because they have a kind of a funny crossover with like NFPA 72 on that with records. And to me, it's weird because it was actually on my test for my NISAT 2. And it's like, so, you know, like to me, it's like if they could put the answer on there, don't ever throw them away. And that's what I would answer every time. Like, why would you throw your records away? But no, it turns out the actual correct answer is you can throw them away after 5 years, you know? So it's kind of weird. Like, why would you just keep those records for 5 years, then throw them away, you know? Like, it just doesn't make sense. You already kept it for 5 years. You might as well keep for another 5.
Sure.
I don't know. To me, it's not logical. And that's a lot of my message for you guys out there that are getting ready to take an exam. It's not what you think logically the code should say. It's what the code actually says.
That's right.
And it may not make sense to you, but the right answer may not make sense. And you just have to know that when you're taking the exam. You cannot common sense your way through an exam.
That's right. And that's why we go through. I'll give you an example here. Just looking at the bottom of that illustration, purpose of change, we tell you that the fault current calculation required to be documented, made available to align with, and we give you some sections here to look at. We tell you 110.24a, that's your available fault current. 409.22b, what does that deal with?
Industrial control panels.
There you go. 430.99 motors, and 440.10 is what? ACs.
Yeah.
So all of this, you need to look at that. And the reason we put those others in there, because you could be looking at some large motors.
Right.
And
that's the thing too. Like my advice for people is try to rattle off sections before King James does. And then you'll like be better at the test, because, you know, if you can rattle them off faster than him, then you know. But yeah, that's the thing that's hard too. And I always do this for apprentices is I'll ask them, hey, what code section is this? And they'll be like, I have no clue. And then I'll be like, oh, it's 110, you know. And then I'll ask them again, hey, what code section? Well, I have no clue. Well, I just told you it's 110. Oh, yeah, I remember. And then it's like, hey, what code section? And they're like, oh, you know, 110. It's like, yeah. You know, so it's like I'm trying to get like kind of that sight memory with people to where they just remember that, you know, I'm just saying, I'm asking the same thing. Kind of, you do the same thing too when it comes to like that easy math and the calculations and stuff. That's what I really like about it. You kind of get that sight memory.
Everything I do, I try to make it as easy as possible. No matter what, I'm always looking for an easy way to go about where people can understand it much easier. And I will tell you, it's a skill, because I'll tell you a quick story. And this is a true story. You ever heard one? We were taking and we were doing the sign book. Okay. And we had, I think Bob's passed away now, but Robert Ford was working with me on it. And we had the electrical portion in there, and we showed how to calculate for motors that were there that turned the sign, did all this stuff. But one of the things we wanted to put in there, we did it with the IBC code. I think it was International Building Code. And we were doing calculations, and we were calculating wind speeds and talking about how far you dug the hole down, how much concrete you put in. There were certain things you did for the calculation to know if that sign was going to hold up.
Right.
And I'm gonna tell you, I didn't understand the freaking thing he was showing, and I was going through editing it, and I was like, "Where the hell did he get that value? Where did he get this value?" And I called him. I said, "Hey," I said, "can you come over one evening? We can go over this." And we had about 8 calculations, and the first one was a pretty big one. And I said, "Where'd this come from?" He goes, "Oh, that's so and so, so and so." I said, "Well, hold on a minute." I grabbed a separate sheet of paper, and I went step one. I said, "What are you calculating here?" He said, "Wind speed." I said, "Okay." So I said, "Finding wind speed." And I said, "What section's this?" Did the section. And I said, "Now, what are we looking for?" And we'd have like wind speed. And then we did another one for
Like depth of
not,
depth of metal or
not that. This was wind speed and atmospheric conditions.
Oh, gotcha.
So we got those two on there and just gave some value. That's step 2. Then we did the sign itself, how wide it was, what the height was, the length, and all this. So we put finding sign dimensions and gave the section. We did all of that. Then we come down. We broke it down to the depth and then the concrete and how high the sign was up and all of this. And
Yeah.
based on, the poet was sitting on all that. And we broke all this down. Now, when I looked at it and he did it, he had it in 3 steps. When we finished, we had that thing in 12 steps.
Wow.
And he sat there and looked at it and he goes, "That is," and I'll never forget, he goes, "You have been blessed with understanding how to find it." He goes, "I never would have thought to do it that way." He goes, "That makes more sense to me." And we
Right.
put it out in the sign. People started using that publication because they had never seen anything like that.
Oh, I bet.
That actually happened. I'll never forget that.
The electrical code community has never seen anything like what your dad was putting out either.
That is true. I'm not going to lie. Okay. 409.23 A and B. This is dealing with your industrial control panels, and 409.23 deals with sources of supply, and it's going to talk about identification. And this is where you have your identification for the location of your disconnect of all your different size or your different sources that are 50 volts or more. And they tell you that it needs to be marked on the control panels. And look at this, and you'll see this all through there. That marking has to be done in accordance with 110.21B. So more than likely, it's going to be a warning, so it's going to be an orange. And it also has to be documented in a manner that will be available to those authorized to install, inspect, or maintain the equipment. And if you have multiple sources of power, you have to identify all the disconnecting means that are required to disconnect all the circuits at 50 volts or more. And of course, that marking will be done in accordance with 110.21B. And on those multiple disconnects, it'll have a marking on there that says warning. And if it's warning, I've brought this up for 110.21B, that'll be orange. And it'll say multiple disconnecting means required to de-energize all sources of supply 50 volts or more.
Dude, so, I'm not gonna lie, that looks like a boat on there. Your little illustration.
You talking about like, the machinery?
Yeah, it looks like a little boat cruising down the river.
I can tell you that machine took a while to draw.
What is that? What is that for?
That's just an industrial processing machine and with a conveyor belt and everything.
Looks like a dang motorboat.
Yeah, when it blows up, it doesn't, I promise you. And what's interesting, all the gauges and everything that are on it, it's exactly how that piece of equipment looks. We actually got that from, where did we get that? we had taken a picture of that somewhere. I think it was at Brookhaven, if I'm not mistaken. But
Okay.
they had that piece of machinery, and we took a big picture, got in close and all that, and then I drew that exact conveyor belt system. It actually cut it off. It was a lot longer than that, and there was another spot it went through that had more controls on it, but
Okay.
it was where they were going in and they were setting up, and it was doing scanning and like it was like it removed stuff. It had like lasers in it. I mean, it was really interesting, but it just rolled down through a conveyor system, and everything was completely blocked off. Basically, before they worked on it, they shut everything down. Then you were allowed to go inside and work on it.
So it was crazy, like working at the Smucker's Uncrustable plant, because they start everything from a loaf of bread.
Mm-hmm.
They actually bake a loaf of bread, and then next thing you know, these things get spit out, packaged, and they go through the spiral freezer, put in boxes, and then sent on trucks, almost 100% automatedly. Like, I mean, it's like very little human interaction to it. Like, it just blew me away watching it. Like, I still got one of my buddies, Rob Hawk. If you're watching, Rob, he always gives me, he wants to see these sandwich makers, these robotic sandwich makers and stuff. He's always giving me a hard time. He's like, he still haven't shown me pictures of these robotic sandwich makers, but it was pretty crazy to watch it all happen. And it was funny, like one of the times they came over the radio, I always had the plant radio, like because in case anything happened with the fire alarm, I had to know right away. And so they would call on the radio, and they're like, one of the conveyors is like loading a truck, and it's already full, you know. Well, what happened was when the trucker backed up, they actually are supposed to park on a scale. And there's like an actual thing where they park on. And he didn't park all the way on that scale, so it just didn't know the weight of the truck. So it just kept trying to fill it and fill it and fill it, and you know, it was already full, and it didn't know that it was full. And so it was really funny because I learned like a lot of the hiccups of how they fix all that. And part of it was they just gave us a case of Uncrustables, and we're like, here, just get this out of here. And it's like, alrighty, me and the fams are gonna go have some Uncrustables in the air fryer tonight. So.
Yeah, and when you look at these industrial control machinery they're using here, they're always setting up, and there's an industrial control panel that's out of that area that controls everything. Sure. And that's another thing I want to point out. That's why we drew them over the left separate, so you would know it was separate from it.
True. 100%.
All right. Then we've got 410.3 A and B. And of course, everybody knows when you go to Article 410, that deals with your luminaires, lamp holders, and lamps. And basically the same thing. You're not permitted to recondition any of that.
Yeah.
Your luminaires, lamp holders, your ballasts, your lamps, your retrofits, your LED drivers, all of that. None of that can be reconditioned. And then they'll have a 410.3A permitted to be reconditioned. It's in the reserve. So right now there's nothing they allow you to come in and recondition.
Yeah, dude, and Willie is so mad about that one. I talked to Willie Jackerson the other day. He's just mad in heck about the old 2026, man. It's just taking him out of business, man. he's out there in the old garage trying to recondition everything he can, and they're just shutting him down. You know, he's got to go like the older code cycles. He's got to go to 2023, 2020 and stuff. So, you know, he's going over to like Virginia and like Indiana a lot, and you know, Kansas City stuff, you know, where they're still in 2008 and stuff. So, you know, Willie Jackerson's still in business, you know, reconditioning stuff. But, you know, it's been tough. He's been had to go to a bunch of different code states that, you know, don't care about the code.
You know what's so interesting? We've done 16 parts on code changes.
Wow.
16 parts going through. I will tell you, when you start adding it up, because you know we go at least 30, 45 minutes on each one.
Yeah.
Y'all need to go back and watch these episodes because y'all are getting a lot of damn good information on this. I hadn't seen anybody else do that yet.
Well, I just finished my continuing education tonight. While I was waiting for the show, I started my course. I was already done with it, but I started my course and then I sat there and watched it go all the way to the end. Well, everything's done, all the, but yeah, I had like, I can't remember what it was, like 37 minutes still left or something, but it was like, they're like, you have to stay in the course for like 8 hours.
Yeah.
Well, takes me, and that's the thing too that I was gonna say that is really awesome because all just hanging out with this show and just me being here, I knew all the answers to everything on all the code changes because I've been here, I witnessed them, and I know why they put it in there, and
Well, hell, we
so
went over it before it ever happened. I
yeah.
mean, I don't think a lot of
Oh,
people
yeah.
realize we went through before the final revisions and everything come out, showing you what happened and all of that. I mean, there's a lot of work went into that. I hadn't seen
100%.
any other podcast do that. But
Yeah,
regardless,
no,
you ready for your tool?
that was you, brother. All right, yeah, let's do it.
It's time for Tool Review of the Week. Sponsored by the Christians Only Tool Review and Knipex Tradesman.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this week's really awesome. Every week I come up with a new different tool that I really like, and this one is kind of unique. This is Knipex. Now, I usually don't do too much hand tools. I try to do as much power tools as possible, but I could really see this having like a really good use. Probably gonna be getting me one of these. It has some really looks like fierce jaws, some really nice high leverage, and I could see myself reaping some stuff like not even trying to get channel locks. What I like this for, it possibly would be like different kind of like a lot of times what you do is you have to have something to kind of hold on one side of your strut and then you're just reaping with your impact. So that thing would be nice. Hold that nice and tight while you just reap it with your impact real quick. And it looks like it has a lot of nice, really high leverage to it. And I don't think I've seen too many pliers like this that have that long grip area. That might hurt you. I could see that possibly hurting you being too long to get in somewhere. So that could be a problem. But what I see this for is where you really have to get some good pressure on it, just really reef on it. A lot of times what we ran into before is we're trying to get screws out that were rusted, and I would grab that on the nut side and then I'd just reap the screw out the other side, and I was reaping on it so hard I was snapping straight blade and built like mostly it was straight blade, but like dude, I broke the straight blade on my screwdriver. On the best screwdriver I had, I broke the straight blade off. So that's some major pressure you're reaping on them, and I want to say that I didn't have any kind of grip like this, but I had enough of a grip that it broke my screwdriver, and so that kind of stuff really helps when you're just absolutely have to get that screw out. And luckily, before my screwdriver broke, I got like 2 or 3 threads on it, so I was able to just get in there with the Sawzall and cut the threads out.
Mhm.
So, a lot of this stuff that I do for like tool review is me thinking like, how am I going to get this job done? Because I have to get it done, and I can't just go in there and be like, oh, it's stuck. Can't do it.
Yeah.
And a lot of times you can't even get your Sawzall in there. You can't, a lot of times you have this where you just reach up there, you get a nice grip, and with that high leverage, you can just probably do it with like 2 or 3 fingers to get a nice grip on there. Like if you're in like struggling for access in there, you just
Yeah.
need to get a couple of fingers on there, get enough grip on there, and then hit it with your impact and blast her out of there. So it's pretty cool being in the trade as long as I have. You can find a use for almost any tool, and this is one that I definitely want to try to see if I can get room for in the tool bag. I think I can utilize it. We had one time we were doing a service call, and it was there was something up with inside the panel, and all the screws were stripped, and it was so crazy. Like, they already had other electricians that came and tried to fix it, and they couldn't get the panel open, so they just basically said, "Oh, sorry, can't get the panel open. You have to call somebody else." And so I had something similar to this. I want to say it was like vice grips, but I just vice gripped onto the screws, pulled them all out, got in there, did what needed to get done, and put all new screws back because they're just quarter 20s. So I put all new screws back when I went back, and they were just looking at me like I was a miracle worker. Like, "Man, we called 3 electricians. You just fixed it quicker than hell." It's like, well, yeah, nothing's gonna stop me, and that's why you get tools like this to where you see that need for it when you're like, "Oh, I can get some grip on that baby. I'll get her out." So, like, it's a lot of fun doing these tool reviews, but this is one of those ones that I recommend for your own tool pouch. I think it just came out. I think it's like a brand new tool.
It's a cool looking tool.
Yeah, so looks like you get a lot of grip on it, a lot of reaping action. I would say on the range from like 3/8, quarter inch. Might be a little small for half inch, but you probably could get a nice bite on a half inch nut. Probably get a good grip on all thread. That's always a problem, trying to keep all thread from spinning. Stuff like that is like really kind of a key value for having something like that. So a lot of uses for it, and I'm really excited to start getting more of this stuff in my tool arsenal and kind of coming at you guys. It's funny because like my apprentices will be like, "Oh, that's a cool tool. Where'd you get that?" I was like, "Tool review." So I do a review on it, and then I'll go get it. I'll go buy it. So
It looks like a solidly built tool to me from just looking at it.
yeah, the Knipex is highly quality. They got that hardened steel, and shouldn't be breaking like some of the Kleins I hear about. So, like I say, nice little tool this week, and go out there and get you some high leverage grit going. So what are we doing now? Manverse machine?
Yeah. All right. Get this. There we go.
For years, man tried to create artificial intelligence. On this segment, we find out, is AI smarter than King James?
Well, we will see. This is kind of an interesting one, highly argued about in like different groups and stuff. But
Let's see here. And fix it. Okay. Well, automatically know that is going to be an Article 647. And
Yeah.
oh, I know. You thought you could trick me.
mm-hmm.
It was funny because how I always take and I always try to think of easy ways to remember stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I remember doing this one, and when you actually go over and look at this, this particular one, I always looked at different things in voltage drops, and because you do get different requirements throughout the code for different things. Well, when you were dealing with, and this is something for everybody to remember, when you're dealing with sensitive electronic equipment, what you want to remember is when you're looking at the voltage drop, just think half of what the requirements are for the other. So if I'm doing a branch circuit, they usually do it at 3%, and then it's 5% overall. So
Right.
you would do 1.5% for the branch circuit, and then for the overall for the feeders 5%, you would do it at 2.5%. So since it's electronic equipment, you just want to do half of what the requirement is for the others. So the answer to this, because you're doing not to exceed the overall, would be 2.5%.
Well, I was actually thinking that you were probably gonna get it, but I was hoping to possibly stump AI. So let's see if I could. I was kind of wondering, but I did like the little 3%, 5% little trickery up in there because
If I remember, it's like 647.5 C or D, somewhere in there. Maybe I don't remember if there's an E. So I think it's D. I don't think there was an E in there. All right.
right.
So let's see what AI has to say about it. Let's see. Share screen.
And I think that you kids can now cheat on your homework because of me and King James. Now AI is watching our show and trying to get the right answer every week.
It's a trying. All right. Let's see what it says. All righty. Give me an answer. 2.5.
Got it.
It got it.
Man,
The branch circuit alone is limited to 1.5. Let me go. I've already got it pulled up in Safari, so let's go over and see. Yeah, it's D. Okay, I was right. Okay, so let me give it the section. Apparently, it knows.
It did get the section, did it?
And Chat GPT, you're getting really good at answering the correct answer. The correct NEC section is 647.5D. That states
Yeah, I remember it was early in 647.
place this in the master log.
But now it should get the code section next time.
King James was right on the answer and NEC section.
All right, I have to give you the 2.5 points versus the 1.5 points.
Yeah, I got that sucker. When I read, I was like, oh yeah. Next catch sends branch think of general. Oh, look at there. General information notes on voltage drop, like I said. Isn't that something? It said exactly what I said. It's half of what it is. That's something that it said what I said. I got to give it credit for that.
Yeah.
Right.
No, that's awesome. It's so much fun doing that man versus machine. Like I say, it rarely got him right when we first started it. So
yeah, now it's getting it right.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. So big time for me to break out the big guns.
Here we go.
I love that little knee slap. You know, I always do that little knee slap before I come out for a quiz. But it was a lot of fun doing this. I'm sure Daniel is ready to go. And this is really cool because I know you were arguing with Weedman about pickups and stuff. So I decided to cover American, well, not just American, but just pickups in general. What pickup became the first all-electric truck to win Motor Trend Truck of the Year? Was it A, the Ford F-150 Lightning? Was it B, the GMC Hummer EV? Was it C, the Rubion R11, or is that R1T? D, the Tesla Cybertruck, or E, the Honda Odyssey? Good luck, everyone.
Oh.
So I'll give you a clue on this. The quarter mile time really impressed me. I was like, what? For a truck? Daniel is going with, is that A?
See, that's
Yeah, he's going the Lightning. That could be Daniel. I mean, I think the Lightning was the first to have like the off-board power your house option. Like you could make your truck a generator if you wanted. Thought that was kind of cool.
Now I remember didn't Rivian come out with a truck right before the Lightning? It's not the Cyber Odyssey, but I don't remember the Hummer as
Yeah, the Hummer.
that was later. But
Yeah, I think the Hummer was like the third one that won or something.
Yeah, I think the Rivian was the first one to come out. I'm not 100%.
It could have been the Tesla Cybertruck because I remember.
No, it was after. It was after those. I remember the Cybertruck come out later. That matter of fact, it may have been the last one that come out.
Oh, the Cybertruck.
Yeah.
Well, because it does say full electric. Didn't the F-150 was the F-150 Lightning full electric? I guess it was. I was thinking it could have been a hybrid.
I think I'm not 100%. I remember the Lightning come out, but I thought Rivian had came out with the first one. I remember a big deal about when it came out because they got those cool ass cars that they do. I'm gonna go Rivian because it's the Rivian or Ford. I'm just not sure which one, but I'll go Rivian.
King James gets question number 1 correct.
That's right, baby.
So, the 2024 Motor Trend Truck of the Year went to which mid-size pickup? Was it A, Toyota Tacoma, B, Chevrolet Colorado, was it C, the Ford Ranger, D, the Jeep Gladiator, or E, the Nissan Titan? Good luck, everyone. I'm really surprised Daniel didn't go A because he loves his Toyota Tacoma. Daniel is going B, Chevy Colorado.
I'm not sure on this.
I know the Tacoma, I think they came out with like a turbo that year, possibly. That was like a 4-cylinder turbo or something. That was pretty awesome.
My
Everyone
two
was kinda
choices are
raving
B
about
and C. I'll go with C, the Ford Ranger.
Daniel gets the correct answer. We have a tie game. The correct answer is B, Chevy Colorado. So on to question number 3. Which truck introduced the Pro Power onboard generator system, allowing the truck to provide onboard electrical power to tools and equipment? Was it the Chevy Silverado? Was it the Ford F-150? Was it C, the Ram 1500? Was it D, the GMC Sierra? Or E, the Toyota Tundra? Good luck, everyone.
I think I know this one. I think it was a Ford F-150. And then I think it was a Ram after that. But the Ram was the first that introduced the storage units on the side.
Right?
So I'm going Ford F-150.
Two correct answers. You guys are correct. It is the Ford F-150. And I want to say I gave it away with the whole lightning thing because it had all kinds of stuff on that. So question number 4. Which pickup was the first in its class to offer a factory-installed air suspension system that improved ride quality and load leveling? Was it A, the Ram 1500? Was it B, the Toyota Tundra? Was it C, the Ford F-150 again? Was it D, the Nissan Titan? Or was it E, the Chevy 1500? Good luck, everyone.
I know this one, and the reason I know this one is because was it 2014? I think 15, somewhere in there, or no, about 2013, 4, somewhere in there. I actually bought this truck for that
Okay.
reason, and we'll wait see what Daniel answers here.
All right. Let's see. Daniel is going A,
That's correct.
the Ram 1500.
That's correct. I know that's correct because I bought it because of that. And it rode good too.
All right. So far, we have a tie game going to question number 4. Or question number 5. We have 4 correct answers. Which mid-size pickup is known for having one of the highest resale values of truck market and reputation for extreme longevity? Is it A, the Nissan Frontier? Is it B, the Chevy Colorado? Is it C, the Toyota Tacoma? Is it D, the Honda Ridgeline? Or is it E, the Dodge Dakota? Good luck, everyone.
Well, this one I'm not 100% sure on, so I'm going to go off of the cars that hold retail value. So I would assume Toyota. I don't know. I'm guessing. I'll go Toyota because their Camry holds its retail value pretty good. So I think that'd be a good choice.
All right. So looks like Daniel is representing his Toyota that's parked in his garage right now. And let's see here. We are going to a tiebreaker round tonight. So that's pretty awesome. Let's see. So, since you're always, kind of under the whole thing when it comes to, like what kind of tiebreaker would you be looking for? Maybe, something in, is the Ford the best truck in Texas, maybe, or
whatever you want to go.
All right, let's see. Let's see what we have. Let's see. Let me go in and go into the. Let's just go. What's the best truck in Texas?
Well, It's Ford, and it would be the Ford F-150. That is the number one selling truck in Texas. I know that.
Well, not selling, just the number one.
Ford F-150.
All right, let's see. Best truck in Texas. Let's see what we got.
I can tell you, it's the Ford F-150. You see them all over the place down here. It's got to be.
Let's see. Oh, dude, I would do that. I'd buy that thing, dude. I love your truck, dude. Yeah.
Ford F-150 is a badass truck.
Let me know. All
But
right. So,
you know what's interesting?
looks like Daniel tied with that, so we have to do another tiebreaker that's different. All right, let's see. I'm gonna have to come up with something. I knew you'd get that one. I knew both you guys would get that one.
Can I make a comment?
Yeah.
It's the number one truck in Texas, but when it comes to where they're using it for work and ranching, it's actually the Chevy Silverado.
Right. Let's see. Yeah, man. Let me see. All right. So let me do something different. All right. We're gonna have to do like an over under. But let's go off that same thing. So let's just go. How many F-150s? Like what are they?
In Texas each year?
Yeah, how many F-150? Yeah, let's see. How many F-150s are sold in Texas every year?
I would say you're probably going to be looking at probably around, I'd say at least 150,000 of them. I'll go 150,000. That sounds right.
All right, let's see.
Because when you look at the F-150, you've got the XLT, you got the Lariat, you got the Raptor, you got the King Ranch, you've got not premium, starts with a P. I can't remember the name of it.
So all Daniel has to say is over 150,000 or under 150,000. So we'll see what he goes with. Ooh, he goes the high number. He goes 450,000. What? Whoa, man.
I don't think there's that many sold.
Daniel went way high. Daniel went like 4 times higher. The answer was 160,000. King James takes the win without going over. I thought Daniel might get a little closer to 165,000. They said the exact number was closer to 165,000. So I thought
almost went to everybody. I was like, I'll keep it a little low. I was like, at least 150,000. I didn't think I'd go 400.
Yeah, that was your 800 years of Rome there, Daniel.
800 years of Rome or 10,000 years of Rome, whatever he went for.
That was so hilarious. Well, you remember what the answer was? How long it took Rome to be built?
I don't remember the exact.
It was 8 years.
Yeah, what did I say? Like,
here's the Adam pickle shop, brother.
Did I say like 15 years or something? Yeah.
I think he said 15 or 20.
Yeah.
But Daniel said 800.
I said, there's no freaking way it took 800 years.
Yeah, so that was really why they said Rome wasn't built in a day, but it was built in 8 years, so that's pretty impressive.
That's right.
You know, all that innovation and technology and stuff. So, all right, we got one left. Wall of Shame.
Wall of Shame. Here we go.
Shame. 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 Shame.
Daniel actually has the correct answer here. It was 8 years to build it and then 800 years to troubleshoot it.
There's no doubt about that.
I like that one. Dude,
What do
this
we
is
got
so,
here?
this is so funny. Like, you could just, like, if you're an electrician, you could just see what's going on here. You have like a neutral going to a hot. You have one neutral that's like marked black that's coming in, almost like they relabeled it as a hot. It's going to the neutral. They they have just like so much weird stuff. They have like a blue and a black and a red, like all tied together with a white going to it. Like, you could tell whoever wired that just did not know what the heck they were doing.
Yeah.
And it was really funny because, like, the reason I wanted to do it for the wall of shame was I just looked at it and I know how to wire it right.
Mhm.
Like, I don't even need, like, it was funny. We were kind of having a conversation about that. Me and one of the other journeymen is, like, the apprentice, one of the, like, apprentices is like, hey, you got to teach me how to, yeah, dude, that is Hack City, brother. But one of the apprentices is like, no, you need to teach me how to wire this.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm going to go, okay, blah, 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 blah. Like, I'm not even going to tell him how to wire it. I'm just going to do it.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just going to sit there and take all the wire nuts off and take it all apart, put it all back together, and then put it all in there and then go, all right, you learn how to do it? And he's like, no. You know what I mean? But it's like, that's kind of with me. It's like, I'm just, like, we were talking about that. You know, like, the journeyman, well, it was one of the journeymen I was working with. He's like, I could just tell you, hey, go wire up this box, and I don't have to tell you how it's labeled or what numbers they are or anything, you know? I'm just going to go over there and go, and I'm even going to go, all right, it's 1, 3, 5, you know? I'll be like, 5's the blue, 1's the black, 3's the red, make it all up. Oh, it looks like 5 goes to that black that's hanging out there instead of that neutral or whatever it is, you know? And I'm going to tie it together, make it all up, put it together, and it's going to work, you know? And I couldn't explain to you how I know that, or I couldn't explain to you why I'm doing it that way while I'm doing it. I just do it, you know? And it was funny because he was saying the same thing, because you get these apprentices come out and they're like, well, I couldn't make it up right because it wasn't labeled. Well, it doesn't need to be labeled if you know what you're doing, you know? And so that's where it comes to, like, a little bit of this generational gap that we're getting out in the field now, where we've been doing it so long, we just do it. We've been probably doing it for so long and not explaining it for so long that you get this whole massive generational gap where people do stuff like this, and they just, to me, this was just spray and pray the way they made this box up. You know, hopefully this black goes to this white, and, you know, like, I don't know. Hopefully this blue goes and ties it with this red and instantly cross phases. But, you know, that, to me, honestly, just seeing that was just showing how much lack of education we have out in the field. And, you know, we have to get more guys that are out in the field. Like, you get too many of these guys like Weedman that just spend all their lives in these offices teaching code and think they know everything, and then next thing you know, you get them out there, their guys out there wiring stuff up like this. And pretty common sense that you're not going to have the grounded conductor off one side of the recep going to a black. That's not going to happen. And to me, you look at it, there's like way too many grounded conductors for, you know, you have a grounded conductor on one of those receps and you don't have anything to match it with up in the thing. Like, you obviously have a multi-wire branch circuit in there, and they need to, like, break one of those. Looked like they were bringing one of those whites as like a switch leg or something in there.
Yeah.
And they tied it in as a breaker tripper instead of a 2-wire switch. So it was pretty interesting. I thought it was a cool illustration of maybe that wiring wall of shame, where I could tell you this guy, he pulled it out like this. I believe it was like this how he pulled it out. A lot of people, you know, they complain that at the Wall of Shame people stage pictures to make them outrageous and stuff like that. Like, I think one of the ones is, I don't know if you've seen it recently, it's been going around a lot of the groups, but it's like the conduit that does like 360s a whole
Yeah, I
bunch of
saw
times.
that. Yeah.
And it's like, okay, like it was pretty bad at one 360, but then now they have like 6 of them. And then they're like, oh, I had to pull this by break or whatever. You know, it was just getting ridiculous. But, you know, AI is doing some great things. And, you know, I do like AI for songwriting. And so make sure you check out my song, you know. So it was pretty cool. It was a lot of fun doing it. And like I say, I think it was pretty powerful. Like, the one thing I liked, James, was that the crowd was singing along.
Yeah.
You know, like I couldn't believe that when it put that in there. I was like, wow, the crowd already knows the lyrics, you know. But
Hey,
that's
let me
pretty
get
cool.
off here. He's in there doing something. I don't know what the fuck he's doing. He's bending over. I don't want him passing out.
All
I'm gonna go
right,
ahead and
sounds
wrap
good,
this
brother.
up. He's
No,
doing something.
yeah, well, as always, make every day an easy day. You have fun and make sure and tell him this for me.
I will. I'm gonna go
All right.
check on him. I don't
Later,
know what he's
brother.
doing.
Yeah.
All right. Peace, everybody.
care of him,
Have
sir.
a good weekend.
All right, later.